A lot of women think that they just need another diet, and what they don't realize is that another diet isn't going to fix it.
I have tried many things before.
Every diet in the world, I guess.
I've tried literally everything. I just never lost the weight.
Women blame themselves. They think that it's my fault that I can't stick to a diet, and it's not. And when you go and you look at these wounds and you heal those traumas, that's when you can actually release the weight, and that's when it becomes really easy to be your ideal weight.
Before meeting Brittany, I had tried other weight loss tricks. I had kind of like given up on that. So I was just going along in life, but feeling kind of stuck. And that's when I discovered Brittany.
I really appreciate Brittany's all-in approach in working with people who have subconscious blocks around food and eating.
I can just enjoy what I want and not stuff myself like I'm never going to have it again.
She truly loves us and she truly wants us to heal.
And these are women that have struggled with addiction for 30, 40, 50 years, and in 3 months, they will not have one addictive craving.
Once you start working with Brittany, your goal is for the weight loss, but then in the end, that's not your goal. It's more about discovering yourself.
I have seen such a difference in the way that I feel about myself. Through her work, I've got permission to love myself.
Healing of emotional hurts from younger years just vanished.
And because of Brittany and her program, for the first time in my life, I feel like I am awesome.
She has a way of teaching you how to know where to go next.
I have grown so much.
It's a journey, and her program really helps with that and helps you realize that you're worth it. Brittany's the gal to go to. It's totally life-changing.
Hi, ladies. Welcome. I think there's about 200 of us on the training right now. And I would love to know how many of you are in my current 6-week program. So say me if you're in my current 6-week program. Me. Okay. Okay, awesome. And if you're new, if you're like not in my 6-week program, maybe you went to my challenge, but you're not a student yet, say I. Okay, good. We've got a good mix of people. Okay, awesome. Okay, that's good to know. I just like to kind of get the pulse and the parameter for let me just make this a little more conducive to my life here. There we go. Oh my gosh, look at me solving my own tech problems. All right. I just need to get a sense of who's new and who's a student, because I like to also, how many of you guys, this is your first webinar training with me? Like you've never been to one of these before? Okay. Cool. There's a lot of new ones. First retreat. You did the Topathon webinar. Yeah, you didn't do the 2-day one. You maybe did the 7-day one, but this is your first 2-day workshop with me. Awesome. And how many of you have been to one of these already? Okay, there's a few of you that have come back for more of these. Okay. Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, let's get started, because, we're 6 weeks into the new year. I had to kind of do a double take on that as well. I don't know why it feels like I'm already like halfway through the year for some reason, but it's only been 6 weeks. And I want to ask you a question. How many of you have tried and failed to lose weight before? Type yes in the chat if you have tried and failed to lose weight before. Yes, yes, yes. Woo! The chat is going cray with that question. Okay. Duh. Yes, definitely. Yes, many times. Okay. So pretty much all of it, all of us then. And if you really think about it, losing weight isn't actually the hard part, right? Because we've all lost weight before. The hard part is keeping it off. See, you've been through this before, right? It's a new year. Let's start another diet. And you're good for like a week or two, maybe even a month. And maybe even you lose weight. But then what happens? What happens? Type in the chat. What happens? You have a stressful day at work. You come home. The kids are going nuts. Your partner's in a bad mood. And what do? What do? You say, fuck it. And you go straight for the cupboard, right? You eat the cookies, you eat the ice cream, you eat the cookies dipped in the ice cream. Maybe you even find some stale chips in the back of the cupboard and you polish those off. And when you finally wake up out of your food coma, that's when the shame hits. And you think, what the hell did I just do? Who's been there? Say I. I know I have plenty of times. Hundreds of times. Well, let me tell you something. Let me promise you something, actually. This cycle stops today. Because after spending a decade and more than $100,000 of my own money, I have found what I believe is the only and the most effective way to permanent weight loss. And I want you to write this down. It's all without diets, without pharmaceuticals, no surgeries, no pills, no shakes, no needles, no jabs, no chemicals that have unknown long-term side effects. I will show you what $100,000 of my own money and a decade of my life returned. And if you have a pen and a piece of paper during the rest of our time together, I'm going to show you the secret to permanent weight loss. And here's the best part. You can still eat whatever you like, whenever you like. How does that sound? I've had hundreds of students now tell me that my techniques work just like Ozempic. It turns off the food noise inside your brain, except there's no potentially dangerous chemicals or needles or harmful side effects that we don't know about. Okay, so I know maybe that even sounds too good to be true. And I want to take this weekend to actually prove to you that this is not too good to be true. This is going to be an interactive experience, and I like to put my money where my mouth is. So I'm going to show you, you guys are all going to have experiences with me today and tomorrow that took me 10 years and more than $100,000 to discover, distill, and to format into a way that I can teach to you. Okay. Diets, trainers, pills, shakes, even surgeries most often fail. And that's why women from around the world call me the missing piece. And this weekend, I'm going to prove to you that permanent weight loss is possible. When you embrace this missing piece, you can look the way you want while eating what you want when you want. See, you guys didn't find me by accident. Today is the day that you get a glimmer of hope and we destroy the lies that you've been told. Because the truth is, you have been lied to. The fitness industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the medical industry, they profit by prescribing, not by curing. They benefit long-term if they sell you Band-Aids instead of fixing the wound. It's not in their best interest to address the cause of your weight gain. They would rather sell you something that treats a symptom or two. How many of you guys know this is true? If you're taking notes, write down the word goal, okay? Followed by a colon, because you may think your goal is to stop your cravings, stop eating at night, lose 25 pounds, fit into your old clothes, reignite your relationship, maybe play with your grandchildren. But none of those are your real goals. Okay? I'm going to tell you what your true goal is. And everybody should have the same goal. Notice I said goal, not goals. Okay? Are you ready? Your real goal is to find the root cause. I want everybody to write down root cause. See, people say, I've been battling with my weight for years, but that's not true. You haven't been battling with your weight for years because it doesn't take years to achieve weight loss. Now, I know this is a polarizing statement and it's on purpose. What people mean is I have been manipulated, deceived, tricked, and conned into working on the wrong thing. And as long as I spend my time, my energy, my effort, and my money trying to solve symptoms of a problem, instead of spending all my time, all my energy, all my efforts solving the root cause of the problem, I will always struggle with my weight. Does this make sense to everybody? Type yes in the chat if this makes sense. And who wants to get to the root cause? Who wants to find out what their root cause is? Now, you guys, I know finding a root cause isn't sexy, right? It's much sexier for me to sell you lose 20 pounds in 6 weeks or another diet or another pill. But there is a reason why celebrities, politicians, CEOs, and many people that I can't name because I'm under NDA contracts, and more than 257,469 women call me the missing piece. It's because I'm here to give you the truth. Okay, now, obviously, if you ask me, of course, I'm going to tell you that my perspective is right? Because discovering the root cause of my weight gain and my emotional eating changed my life. And now it's changed hundreds of thousands of my clients' lives for over a decade. So of course, if you ask me, I know I'm biased. I want to recognize that. So don't listen to me. I want you to listen to the women that were sitting in the exact seats that you're sitting in now.
I started doing this the middle of January, the 16th of January. I have lost 11 pounds since then.
This shit works.
I've lost 2 dress sizes and I'm losing more.
I don't have emotional eating or cravings anymore.
I've lost 2 pounds this week. I am centered, safe in my body, lost weight, kept it off.
I'm wearing clothes that I haven't worn in 2 years. And people at church are commenting, oh, you're losing weight, you're looking good. And I'm like, yeah, I feel good in everything. It's just awesome.
And during this time I've lost 18 kilos. The weight loss is just a bonus. I'm a much more confident, calm, happy person altogether than I've ever been in my entire life. And fitness-wise, you know, I'm fitter now at 40 than I was when I was 20.
I've managed to lose 45 pounds. It's just been so life-changing for me.
Could not have done this of my own volition. And this time, though, the difference is I look in the mirror and I go, hey, I like what I see.
I haven't been able to break the block of the rest of my weight, and I've dealt with chronic bloating. And I've worked with all nutritionists, doctors, probiotics, like vegan, whatever. That is a sign that I am in the right place. First time in my life, there's just nothing to hate on.
Okay, so at this point, you guys might be thinking, all right, Brittany, well, what's the root cause? So I'm going to tell you something. You've probably heard this before, that we've got 2 minds, right? We've got a subconscious mind and we've got a conscious mind. And scientists have actually proven that 90% of what you think and do is run by your subconscious mind. This includes your thoughts about food and exercise. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your behavior are controlled by a part of your brain called the hippocampus. Okay, I'm going to give you a little science education here. We're going to go back to 8th grade science class. So you're probably thinking, okay, Brittany, what does the hippocampus have to do with my weight? The answer is absolutely everything. See, phobias and fears, they seem to arise without a clear reason, right? But what I bet you didn't know is that the hippocampus is in an area of the brain that stores memories, and it triggers automatic fear and anxiety and pleasure responses. Okay, so we're going to do a test right now to see if this is you, because maybe it's not. And if it's not, and you don't get triggered by this, then you can leave and you don't need to spend any time here. Okay. So I'm going to put a picture on the screen and we're just going to see what happens. Okay. You ready? I want you to type in the chat. Tell me what your reaction to this is. Type in the chat. Tell me what your reaction to this is. Nikki says creepy. Casey says scary, fear, ick, ew, yikes, goo, yuck. Horror, uncomfortable, frightening, weirdo, scary, nope, joker, ew, okay. Oh, that's funny. Usually a few people will be like, oh, this is no big deal. Okay, so this is, you are having a reaction to this, right? Okay, so notice your reaction. Okay, I'm giving you a little beach break. This is Playa del Carmen, the beach that I used to live on when I was starting my business 10 years ago, 15 years ago, however long that was. Okay, so this is just like a palate cleanser for your brain. Much better. Yes, you're welcome. Okay, you ready for number 2? What's happening here? Yick, yuck, pain, relaxing, just no. Fuzzy. No, okay, nothing, cute, scary, move away, don't touch me. Okay, so everybody's having a reaction to this, right? Everybody's having a different reaction. Now, here's something that I want you to realize. As smart as you are, you may not even recognize or understand why you're responding this way. You just know you don't like these things, right? And if you had a reaction to these 2 images, this is completely your subconscious mind. You might not even know why you don't like these things, right? Like if you were an alien from another planet, you might think that clown is a colorful new best friend and you want to invite them to your next space party, right? Or you might pick up this spider and think it's cute and soft and put it in your pocket and make it your new pet, right? So you may or may not know this, but your hippocampus is responsible for your good and bad feelings. When an event occurs, it creates an imprint in the hippocampus, and the hippocampus sends a signal to the amygdala, which is your body's fight or flight response when you experience something bad, or it sends a signal to the nucleus accumbens, which is the brain's reward system when it's a good experience. Okay? So what's happening in your hippocampus is that your hippocampus basically looks like, I want you to imagine a sponge, okay? And you know how like those old school sponges that when you looked at them, they had like a lot of holes? I don't know, my mom would like use one to death. And so it's like these really cheap, like yellow or blue sponges and have all these dots in them, okay? So that's your hippocampus. And your amygdala is over here and your nucleus accumbens is over here, okay? So what happens is when you are going through life and you experience something that is that leaves an impression. We even use these words in our language. We're like, oh wow, that person left a great impression. He's so young, he's so impressionable. What they literally mean is experiences leave an indentation in our hippocampus, which is the memory center, okay? Our memory center. Now, what happens is when we experience something bad, it leaves an indentation. And when like later on in life, when let's use, for example, I'll use myself as an example. When I was 5 years old, we were living in this apartment complex and a dog lunged at me. And I don't remember this at all. Nothing happened. Like, you know, my dad protected me, dog didn't bite me, but he scared the shit out of me. So my whole life I grew up and I think I just don't like dogs. Now I don't remember that this thing happened to me when I was 5 years old. I just don't like dogs. And what's literally happening in my hippocampus is every time I saw a dog or I heard a dog, the indentation in that hippocampus would send a signal to my amygdala, which is the body's fight or flight response, and it would make me feel stressed out. Now, it wouldn't make me feel so stressed out that I was like, oh my God, I can't be around dogs, because the dog didn't do anything to me. It just gave me enough anxiety to where I'm like, man, it's just not my thing. Another example of how this could work is you grew up and you had a stepdad, or there was, a man that your mom was dating and you didn't like him. You could tell with your empathicness, being a young empath as you probably were, you could tell that this guy was no good. And your mom broke up with him. It's been years and years and years. And all of a sudden you are at work and you get a new boss and you just fucking hate this guy. And you can't figure out why, because seemingly he's nice. He didn't do anything wrong. Like, he doesn't do anything to you. He wears these weird glasses, but like you're finding stupid reasons to not like him. What's actually happening is this guy is subconsciously reminding you of your mom's boyfriend. Okay. And so your hippocampus, that impression that your mom's boyfriend left in your hippocampus, is sending a signal to the amygdala, which is telling your body to beware. Okay. To be stressed. Okay. And guess what the best way to not feel stressed is? Guess what it is? Eating food, right? There's no easier way to cope than to eat food to serve, because basically when you eat food, you can't eat food and feel bad at the same time. When you eat food, your brain is releasing dopamine, it's releasing serotonin, it's releasing endorphins, all the feel-good chemicals in your body, which is great for adaptability and keeping you alive, but it's not great for weight loss. Okay, does that make sense? Or on the other side, okay, so here's the hippocampus, here's the amygdala, and here's the nucleus accumbens, which is the reward center. So another way that this can, that you can be triggered is that you can see, so say you grew up and you were, I'll use myself as an example again. So when I grew up, my grandma was like my mother figure, and I would go to her house and I felt so loved. I felt so cherished. She would make cookies with me. She knew that my favorite was making chocolate chip cookies, and my mom never cooked, and we never cooked together. And my mom was, she had 2 other kids, and I just felt like the ugly stepchild. Okay. So when I got to my grandma's house, I was like the golden child. And so she would make chocolate chip cookies with me. And so later on in life, whenever any kind of cookies, but especially chocolate chip cookies, would be sitting around at a conference table or at somebody's house, what would happen is I would eat some cookies, and subconsciously I would be transported back in time, and I would remember what it's like to be there feeling super, super loved by my grandma. So it's basically like this cookie was giving me a big hug, right? Does anybody relate to that? Maybe if you've attended my 7-day challenge, then you'll know that I talk deeply about this, and we do an exercise for it. So have you ever, the way that you know this is happening, this is a cool trick. The way you know that your nucleus accumbens is being triggered is if you catch yourself humming or making noises when you eat. Does anybody ever do that? When you eat, you're like, oh my God. Oh my God. This is so good, right? Does anybody do that? Okay, that's how you know. You are no longer in the present. You have been transported back in time, and you are living in some sort of fantasy world, right? Erin said, I'm literally doing that right now. Right. Okay, so this is how your nucleus accumbens is also activated, from the indentations in your hippocampus. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? I'm sorry I couldn't show you the drawing. I probably explained it better just with my hands, but I would have liked to show you the drawing. Okay, good. Okay, so do you know how you recognize somebody's face, right? Like a friend or a family member, you don't have to put any thought into it, right? You just think, well, you don't even really have to think, do I know you? But you recognize them when you see their face. And then you have specific emotions and responses attached to them, right? So how many of you guys have been in relationships? If your hand's not up, you're a liar. Because we've all been in relationships, right? Have you ever put any thought into that? I want you to think about your spouse, your partner. At one point, that person was a complete stranger, right? At one point, they were a complete stranger. And now there are things that you let your partner do to you every single day that if it was anybody else, you'd be like, hell no, that is disgusting, right? Like you'd be absolutely turned off and disgusted by it, right? So what about for the moms in here? Think about your baby. How many times have you let your baby take a sip of your drink, right? When a baby takes a sip of your drink, they backwash all into it. Their goobers get all into the glass, and you think just, you think like, all right, well, that's just how it goes. You don't think anything of it. But what if a stranger walked up and took a sip of your drink? How would you respond? You'd be like, excuse me, what did you just do? But you let your spouse and your kids do it, right? It's still the same nasty, disgusting action. You're just processing it differently subconsciously because your hippocampus is sending the positive signals to the nucleus accumbens. Does that make sense? When you experience that person's face, it's triggering all the positive emotions, feelings, and responses from the nucleus accumbens. Okay, so this is just another example of the reasons you do the things you do just because of these little indentations on your hippocampus. Okay, the cause of your weight gain is your subconscious mind, specifically the emotional response to the people, places, and experiences in your everyday environment. And you guys, this is science, all right? This isn't the brain, according to Brittany. This is exactly what any doctor or psychologist would tell you about how your brain works and how it stores memories and emotions. Okay, so let's get into this. I want to go deeper into the hippocampus and how it specifically affects your weight loss. So I want you to take a look at this iceberg. This is a perfect representation of your mind when it comes to weight loss, right? You've probably seen this example a lot. I know all of us have been in a lot of personal growth. Y'all are not beginners. I know you. I know who my people are. Okay, so you've seen this as like the conscious, subconscious mind, right? When people explain how the mind works. Well, the tip of the iceberg is the part that you can see above the surface. And this is where most people focus when it comes to weight loss. They focus on diet plans, they focus on exercise routine, and they focus on willpower, okay? But that's just a tiny piece of the puzzle, because beneath the surface is the subconscious mind. And this is where the real drivers of behavior lie. The experiences, big and little traumas that shape your beliefs about yourself, about your body, and about your food. Okay, you guys have probably heard of big T and little t traumas. Okay, so examples of big T events are like growing up in an alcoholic household, having a toxic parent, enduring any kind of abuse, whether it's psychological, verbal, sexual, which you've heard me talk a lot about. These are major contributors when it comes to extra weight. There's also smaller traumas called little t traumas, and they're usually everyday experiences, but they are just as powerful, guys. Like mean kids at school, feeling unloved, coming home from school and your mom wasn't there to give you a hug, or struggling through a tough move or a divorce. See, what happens is these experiences, they stack up over time, and then you create beliefs like, I'm not safe, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable. And those silently control your behaviors. That's why focusing on only diet and exercise isn't enough, because the real work happens below the surface. You guys have all heard that the subconscious mind has 90% of the say on your behavior. So if you're struggling, if you're focused here on diet, exercise, and trying to use willpower to diet and exercise, and I've got to eat right, and I've got to go to the gym, and I can't eat the sugar and all of that, and you're using willpower, look at how much power is beneath the surface. like your subconscious mind is just waiting. It's just waiting. It's like, okay, we're gonna let her, we're gonna let her think that she's in charge here. Like, oh, she's cute. She's so cute. Look at how hard she's trying to work out and eat right. Right? All the while, it's just like, how many of you guys have had this experience? Okay. So this is how your traumas, like what I just told you, like what I just explained to you, those experiences that are going on beneath the surface are actually controlling your life. So I'm going to use myself again as an example. This is me as a child. I'm maybe 5 or 6 years old here. My empaths, which is pretty much all of you guys might notice the light in my eyes. You might be able to see the innocence, the joy, the innate confidence that I was born with. And guess what? We're all born like this. We are all born like this. I want everybody to go back and look at a photo of themselves from like 0 to 3 or 4 or 5 years old. Okay. We are all born with an unshakable sense of self-worth. We know deep down that we deserve love, we deserve happiness, and we deserve everything good that the world has to offer. But then some shit happens. My parents were always too busy to listen to my problems, but food was always there for me. That developed into a belief that I'm on my own. I'm on my own with my feelings. Food is my only reliable source of comfort. My parents dismissed my feelings and told me to get over it instead of comforting me, which developed into a belief that my emotions are a burden to others, and it's better to keep my feelings to myself. I was left alone at home from a very young age with caregivers who were neglectful or frightening. I remember feeling unsafe and anxious and had no one to turn to. This developed into a belief that the world is a dangerous place and there's no one to protect me. My needs were often ignored and I had to fend for myself, which developed into a belief that my needs don't matter. Others aren't going to provide for me. I'm alone and I must not rely on anyone. Okay, so as we grow up, life happens, right? And I'm sharing my story with you guys so that it can trigger memories and so that you can relate to this. You can relate to your own story and you can think about some of the messages and some of the experiences that you had. I want you to think about not just the big things, also the little things, right? As we grow up, life happens. Traumatic experiences, big and small, they chip away at that light. Now, here's me at, I don't know, 12, 13 here. Take a look. Take a look at at my eyes now. All my empaths will see what's happened. Who notices the changes in my eyes? Can you see that? Can you see how the light's dimmed? So whether it's harsh words, feeling unloved, moments that make us question our worth, a lot of us have been through hugely traumatic experiences. Some of us have just been through little traumatic experiences, or maybe even experiences that we wouldn't necessarily consider traumatic. But then when somebody comes to my webinar and I start telling them all the examples of the little T traumas and how those stack up over time and create limitations, they're like, oh shit, oh wow, I do have a lot of those. Right? These experiences, they create cracks in our confidence and they dim the light that we were born with, you guys. Yeah, Heidi, I'm trying to be happy, but I'm faking it. You're right. In this photo, not right now. I know what you're talking about. Okay, so then more examples, when you get a little bit older, you experience different things, right? So when a kid at school pushed me and called me an idiot in front of everybody, I developed a belief that I'm stupid. Nobody likes me. I'm not important. Or when my grandma passed away and I saw her in her final moments, developed into a belief that loving somebody means inevitable pain and it's safer to keep a distance. Constantly being criticized and told that I was never good enough by my caregiver, developed into a belief that I am fundamentally flawed and I must earn approval to be valued. Or when I was assaulted by somebody that I thought was a friend, developed into a belief that if I'm overweight, I can protect myself from being hurt again. And all of these traumas, all of these experiences, they compound over time. And this is me at 15, just a few years later. All that light gets buried under layers and layers of pain and self-doubt. Okay, look at the vibe, feel the vibe from these pictures. Look at me in these photos. All that light and that pain gets buried, and it culminates into an angry teenager with very low self-esteem. I now believe that my sexuality is my power. I'm unlovable. I have nothing to offer of value. I'm ugly. I'm stupid. I'm not worthy. I'm alone. I'm not good enough. I have to earn love. I can't trust anyone. I don't deserve to be happy. I have to do everything alone. I don't deserve to be loved. I have nothing to offer of value. I'm ugly and people will betray you. You guys, my calling in this life and the work that I share is about peeling back these layers so that we can rediscover that light and that part of us that always knew that we were enough. Now, some people might say, you know what? I don't know. This doesn't apply to me. I've never been mentally abused. I've never been sexually abused. So for you, I want you to hang with me, because the reality is there's one more secret hidden trauma that has affected all of us. Nobody can get away from it. And we are still traumatizing our children on a daily basis without realizing it. And tomorrow I'm going to circle back and I'm going to tell you what that is. Okay? So when I was 15 years old, I'm just going to go through my story real quick, highlights. When I was 15 years old, I was kicked out of my house. You probably think I was cute here, but as you can tell with my limiting beliefs, I didn't think I was cute. I had low self-esteem. I had been sexually abused. I had 2 narcissistic parents. I had suffered extremely severe emotional abuse. I dropped out of high school just so that I could afford to pay my rent. And the only reason that I didn't end up on the streets is because something inside of me whispered that I was meant for more. And instead of ignoring that voice, I chose to listen. Now, fast forward to today, I've helped 257,469 women heal their relationship with food and lose weight. I've traveled the world for 10 years, living as an expat in Latin America and Europe. I've run a multinational online business for more than a decade. I have amazing family and friends who love me. And I ticked off most of the experiences on my bucket list by the time I was 35. A friend of mine, his wife was a stay-at-home wife before she was a stay-at-home mom. You're probably thinking like, what? So she grew up with her mom working as a nurse. She would ask her mom if she could go to soccer games or take her to the mall with her friends, and she would always hear the same response. No, I can't do that. I'm not like Amy Miller's mom. Who's Amy Miller? Well, Amy Miller was her friend's mom, who was a stay-at-home mom. She was able to take her daughter to all of her soccer games, to the mall whenever she wanted. She planned fun parties for her kids. She was always available for her children. My friend's wife saw her mom overworked, stressed out, working as a nurse, always complaining and not happy. And she decided, I don't want that life. So guess what she decided to be when she wanted to grow up? A stay-at-home mom. And now, see, I have the opposite experience. When my parents got divorced, my mom didn't know how to work to provide for us. And so we had to move in with my grandparents. And I saw how hard it was for my mom and without the support of my dad. And I decided that I never wanted to depend on a man for money. So I decided to work, and I decided I'm going to put off having a family just so that I can be financially secure. You guys, both of these are trauma responses. They're completely opposite trauma responses. So I share this with you because trauma can be as simple as a comment or even watching someone that you love experience something painful. Who's had this experience? Say yes in the chat. Yeah. See, these subtle messages or simple comments, they end up shaping our identity. And this is how you decide who you're going to be in the world and what your world looks like. as I'm saying this right now, I'm sure you guys are thinking of things that have happened that shape your identity, your views about money, your views about your body, your relationships. You're doing things with money right now that are a direct reflection of something someone said or did in your life growing up. You think about your body in a way that is a direct reflection of something someone said or did in your life growing up. And you guys, these are scientific facts. This isn't the brain according to Brittany. This is exactly what any doctor or psychologist would tell you about how your brain works and how it stores memories and emotions. Now, this is a reminder. You guys, this is subconscious. You're not going to realize that you're doing this. You're just going to wonder, why can't I stop eating chocolate? Or why can't I never stick to a diet? Or why can't I lose weight? Right? It doesn't happen usually where like somebody has an anxiety attack or they make a bad comment and then you decide, okay, I'm going to go eat my feelings to make these bad feelings go away. I'm going to go eat food to make these bad feelings go away. Sometimes that happens, but more commonly it looks like you come home from work, it's been a long day, you worked hard, maybe you had a lot of stress, and now you're at home and you can't put the freaking ice cream down, right? Who's experienced that? This is your brain's way of triggering those positive and negative feelings. And remember, all of this is taking place in where? Where is it taking place? Type in the chat. The hippocampus, the brain, the hippocampus. Good. Oh, you guys picked this up faster than the other groups. Okay, and who is in charge? The conscious or the subconscious mind? Subconscious. You're so smart. I love this group. Yes, the subconscious, right? Okay, great, Brittany. You told me about all my problems, and everybody, you probably feel depressed now. And it seems hopeless, right? It does seem hopeless. You've probably felt hopeless about this problem a lot. Okay, I want everybody to write down unless. Unless we cut the ties. Unless we retrain your brain and cut the ties. Okay, so here's a question for you. I'm going to give you a test, and don't worry, you're all going to get it right, okay? I want you to type in the chat what your name is. Okay, the next question is, how do you know that's your name? People called you a lot of things in life, right? Somebody cuts you off on the freeway, they call you an asshole. And now if somebody calls you an asshole, that's your name. How do you know that's your name? It was given to me. That's what I respond to. My parents called me that. My birth certificate. A grandmother. Okay. Okay, good. So what's your point, Brittany? My point is, you respond to that name because you were trained to respond to that name. See, when you came here, you didn't even really know that that was your mom or dad. You come to learn that that's them, but you don't really know that at first. Right? So when you realize everything about you is something you were trained to respond to, you guys were handed a set of beliefs, someone else's beliefs. There's a little kid growing up and she's just taking in the world, right? She's very observant. She likes looking around. She likes learning. She likes watching. She doesn't say much. Okay. She just likes to take it all in. People go, oh, she doesn't talk much. She's shy. Okay. Have you ever seen parents do this? Did your parents do this to you? Oh, hey, this is my daughter. She's shy. And now you grow up and what do you start doing? What do you start saying? I'm shy. You take ownership of that because that was handed to you. You could have just been taking in information. You maybe just didn't have anything to say. You guys, you do this in your everyday life all the time. Most women, when they get married, they take the last name of their spouse, right? So that means you spend 20, 30, 40 years responding to one last name. And then what happens when you get married? You suddenly start responding to a totally different name, right? Do you remember the first time you heard it out loud? Somebody called your name and you were like, oh, that's me. That's me. right? So what happened when you did that? You were retraining your brain to respond to that new name. You guys, we do this every day. They knock out a road, right? And you have to take a detour. You don't know how to go that way at first, but you type it into the map and Google takes you there. And then suddenly you just start taking that new route. Or has anybody ever moved to a new city and you don't know where anything is? What do? How do you find your coffee shop, your dry cleaners? You don't know where they are at first, but then you look it up. Google takes you there a few times. And then all of a sudden those places become places you go all the time. You just trained your brain to do something new. You weren't born knowing how to do all these things. You learn how to do them over time. Okay. What happens when you don't want an app on your iPhone anymore? What do? Or your Android? Can you hear the judgment, the Android judgment in my in my voice? those of you who send green text messages. So what do you do when you don't need an app? You delete it, right? You delete it. Okay, how many of you are like me and you're single and you're using the dating apps? Meg's like, oh, Brittany. So what do? You download an app. You're like, okay, I'm single. I don't want to be single anymore. And we're out there, we're swiping, we're looking for bae. And then we find somebody, right? And then what do you do with the app? You delete them, right? Because you don't need it anymore. It served its purpose. Or yeah, maybe you gave up on dating. I definitely deleted my apps before I found somebody too. But you make a decision. It served a purpose. You found bae, you're sick of dating, whatever. It's not serving you anymore, right? So my point is, just because this is the way your brain responds now, doesn't mean it always has to respond this way. We can cut the ties. I want you to type in the chat, cut the ties. Type in the chat, cut the ties. How many of you guys think it would be really valuable if I just helped you cut the ties right now? Because we know we all have these ties, right? That's what's triggering these behaviors. If you don't get anything else from me, would it be valuable today if I showed you how to cut those ties? Yes, 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 cut the ties. Yes, cut the ties. Hell yes. Nice. Like your enthusiasm. Okay. All right, so let's do that. All right, so here's some context. I'm going to explain it to you like I'm a tech genius, which you all know I'm not. Here's how to install a new app on your brain, okay? Step 1, you figure out which memories or experiences are triggering the cravings or emotional eating or the self-sabotage and the extra weight, and you relive those, okay? And when you relive those experiences, what do you think happens? Your hippocampus starts sending those stress signals or the pleasure signals, right? So step number 2 is your brain has to be interrupted from sending those signals and instead flood it with a different signal. Okay? So I remember learning this way back when I was 15 years old when I first learned about this and started my journey in personal growth and therapy. And I remember thinking, okay, I learned about the conscious, subconscious mind. That was like the biggest breakthrough I ever had because I'm like, Steve, I kept going to my therapist. I'm like, I don't have any willpower. As soon as I tell myself not to do something, I do it. And he's like, oh, well, that's your subconscious mind. I'm like, what is this thing? And I realized that the only way I was going to be able to master my life is if I mastered my fucking subconscious. So I have literally dedicated my life to tricking my subconscious mind into doing what I want it to do because my conscious mind won't follow the rules. My subconscious mind would always sabotage. So I remember thinking, okay, so if my brain is just sending the wrong signals, how do I interrupt the signal? How do I change that signal? Okay, now, y'all, I told you, I don't know a whole lot. I dropped out of high school. Y'all got more degrees than a thermometer, okay? I know you, I met you, you're in my classes. But does this make sense to you the way it was making sense to me? You know those action movies that you've seen, right? There's a bomb. I just watched one the other night. There's a bomb. There's a bomb. What do they always say? We got to disable the bomb, right? How do you disable the bomb? I don't know. We got to jam the signal. Okay. So the next question is, how do we jam the signal, right? No joke, you guys. I spent so many years in therapy, reading books, taking classes, trying every book and program and pill that I could get my hands on, trying to jam this freaking signal. Okay, hypnosis, therapists, alternative, everything. But I couldn't find it. I found a lot of things that helped me lose weight sometimes, and sometimes it would work, but it was always temporary. Okay. Yeah, hypnotherapy too. Definitely tried hypnotherapy. Totally thought that would work. Nothing ever helped me jam the signal. I would still have the food cravings. I was still eating emotionally. So one day it came to me. I realized that I had to find my own way of jamming the signal. Actually, it came in like kind of a spiritual download that I didn't figure out until years later. I heard, Brittany, you're going to be the one to figure this out, which like I literally thought somebody was talking to me and I was like, what is wrong with my brain right now? But it was true. It was true. So I realized that nobody had the solution that I needed. And because, like I told you, I had very shitty willpower, I could not, all the advice that was available was, okay, when you're feeling that urge, go do something else to distract yourself. I don't know about you, but I couldn't make myself walk around the block or call a friend when I wanted to eat, take a few breaths. What? Oh my gosh. I needed something so effective, my brain would forget to even have the craving. And you guys, that's exactly what I discovered. And I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. And what's crazy about this is that when this is done repeatedly, not only can we jam this signal, we can completely disable the bomb. Okay? Which means you stop having cravings altogether. Your brain will not remember how to eat emotionally. No joke. I have students that will attest to this. Your brain will not understand or remember how to eat emotionally. And then what happens after that? Your brain won't understand why it's holding on to all this extra weight. It's like, what are we doing here? Why is this here? All we did was jam the signal. You guys, this isn't complicated. How many of you guys have exes? How many of you guys have exes? Yeah, everybody has exes, right? See, at one point, that person meant the absolute world to you. You would have a positive emotional response to them. And then something bad happened, right? Maybe he didn't know how to act right. Something happened. Maybe you met somebody else. But over some period of time, if you're honest, the thought of that ex even kind of makes your skin crawl, right? How many of you guys have had this experience? You may even look back and think, God, I can't believe I was with that person. I know I have a few of those. Okay. So whether or not this is true, this for you, this is not for me to decide, but what I want, I'm just giving you another example of how you trained yourself to act differently. You decided that's not serving me anymore. That's not good for me. So you train yourself on a new response to that individual. You guys, nothing I'm telling you is new. This is stuff you do every single day, except nobody ever showed you how to do it in this area of your life where it really matters. Right? Okay. So here's the missing piece. Right? I was looking for a way to interrupt that signal, right? Going back to this. And do you guys remember when oh my gosh, this is going to really date me, but I think everybody here remembers this. Remember when we're listening to the radio in the car and we're like driving between two towns and it would sort of like change to the other channel and you could hear both going at the same time? Well, what I found is that we can actually do that with the brain. So remember, your brain triggers a memory when your brain triggers a memory and it fires off either a pain or a pleasure signal. But what I found is that we can jam that signal if we send a different signal to confuse it, a relaxing signal. Okay? How many of you guys know that there are specific areas on the human body that when they're shown attention or pressed, they relax us, right? Acupressure points. Has anybody ever had a massage or acupressure, right? There's certain areas of the body when they get activated, we feel really good. Now, you guys remember, I'm a high school dropout, but I thought, okay, so what if every time I feel that pain or that pleasure signal, I send a calming signal too? And the craziest thing happened. First, I tried it with my cravings and it worked. And then I tried it with emotional eating and it didn't work. So went back to the drawing board. A couple years later, I tried a different signal and then I got that to work for emotional eating. And then, so I had solved my cravings, I had solved my emotional eating, I had the signals for both of those. But then what happened? Then I started sabotaging myself because I started to lose weight and I started to feel really good. And then some part of me was like, fuck no, bitch, you're not gonna, this is, no, we're not, life isn't this good. And it brought me right back. So then I had to go back to the drawing board and I spent a whole lot of time figuring out the signal for self-sabotage. And I got it to work for self-sabotage. And I kept tinkering with it. And over time, y'all remember, I had been working on this for more than 15 years. I figured out that there are 12 different calming signals for the brain to completely cut the ties. Okay? So I did that. Every time I felt a pain signal, I sent a calming signal. And what I found is when you do this repeatedly, not only do you jam the signals, you completely sever the ties to your weight and to your emotional eating. And over time, I realized that no matter what happened to me that day, I was stressed. I got in a fight with my boyfriend. I didn't like my body. There was sugar in the cupboards or chocolate in my drawer or ice cream in my freezer. My emotions no longer caused me to crave food. And how this works is when you do this repeatedly for a period of time, you can think about that bad thing that happened and your brain doesn't send a pain signal. Or you can think about that positive memory and you don't get an emotional response. That means you stop having the cravings, you stop having emotional eating, you stop sabotaging yourself, and you finally no longer struggle with the constant food noise. Your body looks down and it goes, wait, I don't need all this weight. Your body gets the signal that it's safe and this weight is no longer needed. Okay. Now, I don't know what traumas you have, right? I don't know what your specific food triggers are. And all those things need to be figured out in order to find your personal root cause so that we can sever the ties for you. Okay. But we're going to go through an experience together. So who wants to experience how this works? Raise your hand if you would like to see how we sever the ties. Okay, how many of you guys would love to turn the food noise off in your brain so that you can feel in control around food all the time, even when you're stressed? Or leave some food on your plate not because you're trying to be good or stick to a diet, but because you just don't want the rest. How many of you guys would like to forget to eat once in a while? Or how many of you guys would like to go to a party and not worry about overeating or over drinking when you're there? Yes? Okay, so let's do that. So today, what I'm going to do is a process that my students keep calling, it's getting the nickname Ozempic. Can we do the Ozempic technique? All we're going to do is we're going to sever the ties in your brain that keep telling you to eat food when you're really just stressed out. Okay. These are the ties that are sabotaging your healthy eating intentions and this is what's making it really hard to stick to a diet. Okay. So right now I'm going to show you how to use one of my 12 calming signals. Remember, there's 12 of them. We're just going to cover one today. And, like I said, for this particular calming signal, what it does is it will sever your urge to eat emotionally. Okay. So how many of you guys believe that if you only ate when you were physically hungry, it would be easier to lose weight? How many of you guys think that's true? Like, oh my God, if I could just control my eating, if I could just eat when I'm only hungry and I wasn't snacking at night or eating all the sugar or overeating too much every time I sit down. Okay. So I'm just gonna do a little overview on tapping. So for those of you who are new to my work, what we're gonna do is we're gonna use our fingertips to tap on different acupressure points on the body, okay? And remember, all we're doing is we're simply pressing on specific acupressure points to send a different signal than the one that's going on. That's it. This is science, okay? How many of you guys have heard of Morse code? What's Morse code? You tap, right? You tap and you send certain signals. Well, this is the exact same thing. It's like your body's own personal Morse code. You press certain acupressure points, that equals your own personal Morse code. Okay. If this sounds weird, does this sound weird to anybody? Okay, that probably doesn't sound weird because you guys follow me. But anyway, you could go ask your fourth grade teacher, okay? Or if your husband thinks this is weird, tell him, go find Mrs. Johnson and ask her how the body works, okay? This is the way the brain communicates. When you want to pick something up, your brain sends an electrical signal, right? If there is another way, if we could call it, if we could text it, if we could chat GPT it, we would. And listen, if they ever figure out, I'm going to be on top of figuring that out. Probably. I will probably figure out how to use chat GPT for all this stuff before anybody else does. Okay. But guys, right now, I want you to think about me as your own personal AI. I'm like your personal AI. I have the codes to install in your brain. Okay. This is how, until we get an upgrade, maybe brain 2.0 will upgrade us, and then none of us will have these problems. And then we'll just install a chip and everybody will be perfect. But until then, I'm your chat GPT. I'm your personal AI. I have the codes. All you have to do, I will give them to you. All you have to do is install them in your brain. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? All right. Okay, so this is these are the tapping points, and I'm just going to go over them real quick. Bree says, show me the codes. How do I get a bigger picture of just you? Yeah, do you guys want, okay, so I definitely, yeah, why don't we do this? Would you guys prefer me to just be on camera instead of seeing the pictures? Okay, it looks like half and half. Both are helpful. Okay, cool. So we're gonna keep it like this. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to hopefully be able to ask for 2 volunteers. If you'd like to work with me, please be, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put you on camera, okay? I'm gonna talk to you about, we're gonna like figure out, it's kind of like getting a one-on-one tapping session with me, okay? Or like if you're working with me in my Thrive program, you would be able to chat with me and we would be able to kind of like figure out what your root cause is. Okay. Today, we're going to work on emotional eating. So if you have been with me for a while and you're like, I don't think I eat emotionally, I know that I'm more of a craver, I would like to ask you to maybe raise your hand tomorrow instead of today. Okay. So this is for people that know they eat emotionally. How do you know you eat emotionally? It's when you are all alone, when everybody goes to bed at night and you can't help yourself from eating everything in the cabinets. You get triggered and you just have to put something in your mouth. You can't keep certain foods in the house, right? Okay. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to start with the karate chop point. I'm just going to take you, for anybody that's new to the tapping points, you just take the fleshy part of the outside of your hand that you would use to make a karate chop and you tap lightly on it. You don't have to worry about the amount of taps. Don't worry about that. The only way that you can mess this up is if you're thinking about something other than what I'm talking you through. I'm going to tell you about, I'm going to have you visualize some things. And if you float off and you start thinking about your to-do list or a conversation you had with somebody yesterday or a fight that you're having with somebody, then that's the only way that you can do this wrong. Okay. So you don't have to get it perfectly in the right spot. Some people use 2 hands. Some people use 2 sides. I'm just going to use one side just to keep it simple. Okay. So karate chop point, beginning of the eyebrow, outside of the eye, under the eye, under the nose, chin, collarbone point. I like to just, at the base of my neck where there's these little knobs, I just kind of poke around there. Under the arm. Now, if you have big boobs and you can't reach the side of your body here, you could also do it like this, or you can just skip this spot. Okay. And then the final point is the tippy top of the head. And I just imagine that there is a string going through directly straight up through my body, and put my fingers right at the tippy top of my head and tap there a few times. Okay. Again, if you're going to volunteer, please make sure that your camera's working. Please don't have any noise in the background. Please have good lighting and be willing to share your experience with us. Okay. So I'm just going to give you a little overview of what echo tapping is. So I named the signal echo tapping. And it's a technique that heals emotional eating by working with something that I coined called echoes, which are younger versions of yourself stuck in past experiences. Okay, I'm not the only person that talks about things like this. If you've ever studied matrix reimprinting, I think even like Buddhists, and there's a lot of like old Eastern religions that will talk about things like this. So these echoes are created when something stressful happens or when you experience a painful event and your brain can't fully process it. Okay. What happens is the memory gets stored in the hippocampus, right? It makes that imprint, that indentation. And when something similar happens in the present, it triggers that echo. So it's almost like, do you guys ever watch Star Trek? Like, like when they would teleport and he would push a button and the guy would just like come in. It's kind of like that, right? Where he just like all of a sudden he would appear. It's always the men. So the person teleports, they push a button and the person teleports. Okay, same thing happens when you experience feelings of stress or discomfort. Your brain craves food to release these feel-good chemicals like dopamine and serotonin to calm you down. So what happens is with echo tapping, you can use these urges for food as a map to take us to the experiences that need to be healed. It's kind of like solving a mystery, right? The food will tell us where to go next. So what we do is we connect with our younger echoes in those moments, right? They're still alive. They're still living in our subconscious. They're just asleep, right? But then they get triggered, they have this experience, and all of a sudden, they're beamed in, and they are now making the decisions. Okay. So what we do is we connect with these versions of ourselves and we help reframe these past experiences. We help them heal from these past experiences so that we can break the cycle of emotional eating. Okay. All right, so let's get to work. I'm going to pick some volunteers in a minute, but I want everybody to, I want to set everybody up. We're all going to do this together, okay? So make sure there's no distractions. Please don't, this is like very interactive part of the training today. So I want everybody to think about a scenario where you feel really out of control around food, okay? More than normal, right? So maybe it's at the office and you can't stop snacking on all of the candy, or like, a super common one is when everybody goes to sleep at night and you can't stop eating all the snacks in the cupboard. Or, maybe you have sweets after every meal, whatever it is. Type it in the chat and tell me what your scenario is. Okay, tell me what you're going to work on. Okay, office goodies, snacking when relaxing and watching Netflix in the evening. Okay, that's a great one. The thought of being around family and friends that I don't really trust, late night eating of healthy food. Awesome. Sharni, those are two separate things. Focus on one of them. Okay. Daniela, eating bread and butter late at night. Perfect. Sweets after every meal. Perfect. After a social event. Great. Snacking at night, sweets when mindless, snacking while working. Okay, Suzanne, work on that one for sure. God, I used to do that too. It was so hard. I would be like stressed to work because I would totally overeat. Family holidays, events, massive food. I drink too much Coca-Cola. Perfect. Yep, you can use alcohol for this experience, for this demonstration as well. Free food at the office. Okay, cool. End of a long day at work and I look for a reward. 3 p.m. slump. Perfect. Buffets in public, chips and salsa. Okay, cool. Okay, so you guys got it. You guys got it. Please, as a reminder, only raise your hand if you have good lighting and you have emotional eating and you are willing to share. Okay. All right, I'm going to take Bree, Bree, I'm going to, give me a second, guys. I know. Oh, Bree, you're there. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, wait, I'm gonna see if I can turn on your video. Oh, I don't think I can get you on video. Shoot.
Oh.
Do you have a way of turning on your video on your end?
I'm looking, and no, only the option to mute and unmute.
Okay. So it was a setting on our part. Okay, Bree, and then I'm gonna pick somebody else after I talk to Bree. Yeah, I should be able to promote to host, but it's not saying that I can even promote her to host. That's normally what I do. Thank you for helping me. It was just a setting that we got wrong. No worries. Hey, Bree. Okay, so tell me what your thank you for volunteering, by the way. Tell me what your scenario is. Like, when do you eat emotionally?
Definitely, without a doubt, it's nighttime.
Nighttime. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so would you say it's like every single night, or is it just certain nights?
I'd say I want to say every single night, and then the truth is there might be one night out of 2 weeks that I give myself a break from exhaustion, but that's usually because I fall asleep out of exhaustion from life. And so sleep means I escape the cravings.
Yeah. Okay, great. That's a great, not great, and expand.
Yeah, I know.
Be nice not to do that, right? Okay. Well, let's fix that for you.
Can I just add, eating emotionally, I just to say, eating emotionally can happen any time of the 24-hour clock for me. Absolutely, it can happen any time during the day too. But I'm not in a pattern of overeating emotionally during the day. The overeating emotionally is at night.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
And yeah, typically what happens is when somebody heals a pattern like their nighttime eating, the other eating will come up. It'll go, oh, your brain will think like, oh, wow, we can fix that. Because there's part of your brain that actually doesn't like this behavior. There's the other part of your brain, the subconscious part of your brain still really likes this behavior. But once the conscious mind gets a hold of it and goes, oh, wait, we can get rid of this, and you start to feel better, you have more ability to focus on other areas where this is affecting you. So you'll be able to move to different triggers. But let's work on this one for you to start out with, because it's sounds like it's yeah, this if we could fix this for you, what would happen for you? What would happen for your life if you stopped doing this?
I mean, the main thing that would happen is that if I lost the massive excess of weight that I'm carrying, my health would very much improve. I'm having like heart problems because of the weight.
Okay. So this is like
life changing. Yeah.
Life or death in some ways. Okay, great. What a better, I'm so grateful that I'm able to walk you through this, and thank you for trusting me, and I can't wait to help you get to the bottom of it. Okay, Bree, I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to pick one more person.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to just, there. I'm going to mute you. So Bree, nobody can hear you, just so you know. Because we're going to do some tapping together, and I want everybody to say what I tell you to say out loud. Okay, let's see. Who else? Jane. Jane, go ahead and unmute yourself. Hi, Jane.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you for volunteering. Tell me what your behavior is that you would like to change today.
Today. The binging.
The binging. Okay, so when specifically do you binge?
After I've had a couple of days of eating healthy.
Oh, okay, great. So how do you know when to binge? I know that's a weird question, but I want you to like close your eyes and think about it for a minute. This is kind of different. This is kind of a different one. So what's happening? What are the things you're saying to yourself, or what are the things that you're doing that signal for you to like, okay, this is when we binge?
Oh,
Do you want me to give you some options?
yeah, I'm thinking something sad happens, or I get lonely, and then I want to reward myself.
Okay, so something sad happens, you get lonely, you want to reward yourself. Does it ever happen where you like notice that you're actually losing some weight and you have some success, and then you're like, oh, I can kind of loosen up again?
Yeah, I can take a break.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So I want you to, because you said something sad happens and I get lonely, I want you to focus on that one. Okay.
Okay.
For this one.
Mhm.
This is multi-layered for you. Okay. So what I want everybody to do is I want you to think about Jane, I'm gonna put you on mute again. Okay. And I'm gonna come back to Bree and Jane, you guys. I'm gonna come back to you as we're going through this. Okay. And I'm gonna stay on the screen so that everybody can just follow along. Okay. Um, so what I want you to do is I want you to think about this situation that triggers you. Okay. We just heard from Bree and Jane, their situations that trigger them. And I want everybody to go to that place in your mind. And I want you to imagine being there, like be there in your living room. It's late at night. Everybody's gone to sleep. You're super stressed out, right? Bree's had a long day and she's like, oh my God, I just can't wait to get home and just like binge on food, right? Jane, something sad happens. She's been good for a couple of days and something happens and she's like, okay, I'm going for the food. Okay. So I want everybody to put yourself in that scenario. And when I say put yourself in that scenario, I want you to imagine, close your eyes, and I want you to imagine actually being there. Feel your butt on the seat. Feel yourself in your kitchen. Notice the food that's around you. Okay. And for this exercise, we don't actually need food. This is an amazing part of this process. You can do this at any point. Okay, anytime you feel a desire for food, you can just do this. You don't actually have to have the food with you. But in your mind's eye, I want you to think about what food would you normally go for. Okay, would you go to the pantry? Would you go to the would you go to the snack drawer? Would you pull some chocolate out from underneath your bed? Like what is your behavior? Would you pop some popcorn? What's your behavior? Okay. And I want you to imagine that food is in front of you. Okay. Notice your desire for it, right? Because remember, again, you're feeling stressed out. Jane's sad, Bree's overwhelmed, maybe you're feeling lonely. Whatever those emotions are, I want you to make them even stronger. I want you to make those bad feelings even stronger. Okay. And look down at the food in front of you and notice what your desire is. And I want you to type in the chat on a scale from 0 to 10, how strong is your desire to eat this food? Okay. Notice how pulled you are to the food. Type in the chat. 10, 10, 10, 100. Okay, everybody's a 10. Somebody's 1,000. Okay, good. So you guys are getting it. You're super triggered. Perfect. Okay, now this is the hard part. What I want you to do is I want you to take your hands, and with both hands, I want you to imagine pushing the food away, arm's length distance out in front of you. Okay, so push it all the way out. This is going to feel really bad. Okay, start tapping on your karate chop point, and I want you to sit back and I want you to close your eyes. Okay, now you're going to tune into this bad feeling, and I'm going to ask you a question here, and I want you to allow your unconscious mind to answer with the very first thing that pops up. Okay, as you tap on the karate chop point, allow your unconscious mind to answer this. How old are you right now? You may see a number, you may feel a number, or you may just have a knowing. And don't worry about getting it exactly right. If you're like 6 to 9, that's totally okay. You're like 1 to 3, that's totally fine. Just go with whatever answer you get, okay? The goal is not to get it perfect, okay? You don't need to get it perfect for this to work, okay? And now we're going to start tapping through the points. If you don't know how to tap, just follow along with me and do what I'm telling you to do in your mind's eye, okay? I want you to see yourself at that age, whatever age you got, I want you to see yourself at that age. Walk over to her, okay? We're going to get closer and closer and closer to her. You're going to be inching your way up to her, little by little. And you might feel the anxiety getting higher the closer you get to her. And that's a good sign, okay? I want you to just keep tapping, okay? Keep tapping, inch closer and closer and closer to her until you're right there. You're right there in front of her. And then what I want you to do is I want you to step inside her body, open your eyes, take a look around, and tell me what's going on, even if you think you're making it up. Okay? Keep tapping through the points as you do this. And I want you to really allow yourself to feel all the emotions that you're feeling right now. Allow yourself to boldly step into those feelings, knowing that as soon as you do, they will leave in seconds. Okay, I know this part is hard, but I want you to really make sure that you are actually in your younger person's body. Okay. Now keep tapping through the points here. And I want you to look around and I want you to notice what happened or what's about to happen that's making you feel uncomfortable, that's making you feel this way. Maybe you're feeling really sad. Maybe you're feeling scared. Maybe you're feeling rejected. Everybody's going to be feeling a different way. So again, you don't have to get this perfectly. You don't have to remember. If you get a memory that comes up and you know for a fact that didn't happen, don't worry about it. Let's just play with your imagination, okay? Now, what I want you to do is, again, keep being there in her body, looking through her eyes, and I want you to say something about this situation, okay? Maybe it's something like, that's not fair. How could you do that? That's not right. Why me? I want you to just say whatever words are popping up into your head intuitively right now, okay? And I want you to remember, keep tapping through the points as you do this. Okay, keep saying those words out loud. I'm going to be quiet for 30 seconds and I want you to say whatever it is you want to get. How could you? You can say, fuck you, get away from me. How dare you? Don't ever do that to me again. Okay, just keep tapping through the points as you do this and as you say those words out loud. Okay, and at one point you might notice your body takes like a little breath, or you relax, or you might sneeze or yawn. Okay. At that point, I want you to notice when your body kind of relaxes. Okay. Take a nice deep breath. Come back to today, to the adult that you are. Take a nice deep breath. We're going to stop tapping for a minute. Breathe in, take a nice deep breath in. Okay. And we're going to tap together and I'm just going to walk you through visualization. So I want you to see yourself as that younger person. Now you are the age that you are and you're seeing your younger you. Okay. Whatever age you were in that memory. Okay. Step inside this scene with the little you. And I want you to put your arms around her and hug her and love her and tell her that everything is going to be okay. Tell her that you're here for her no matter what. And that even if she can't depend on anyone else, you're here for her. You're here to watch over her. She can always depend on you. Maybe she doesn't believe that everything's going to be okay. Maybe what you can do is you can ask her if she'd like to come live with you. Okay. Maybe she wants to come live with you and she wants to come live in the house that you have right now. Okay. And if she does, say yes. Okay. Keep tapping through the points. Tell her, okay, we're going to get you out of here. You do not need to live here anymore. You're going to come live with me. Okay. So keep tapping through the points. And I want you to tell her anything else that she needs to know right now. Okay, and keep tapping through the points. And I'm going to walk you through another visualization here. Okay. I want you to imagine the little you is next to you. Okay. You guys are sitting right next to each other. Maybe she's on your lap. And from the sky, there are these two huge angels that come down from the sky and they wrap both of you in their wings. Now, if you don't like angels, you can use light. Okay. And you are filled with this, keep tapping through the points. You are filled with this unconditional love. And all you can see is bright white light. Okay. Keep tapping through the points. And I want you to imagine the angels turning on a beautiful shower head made of crystal. Okay. And they turn the dial up. Okay. This is a very tight container for you to hold and for them to really heal you. Okay. They're going to turn the dial up and notice how good it feels to allow this brilliant, bright white light to cleanse every part of your body. This brilliant, bright white light comes down from this crystal shower head and it cleanses every part of your body, all your cells, all your organs. It's cleaning your body and her body. All the emotions, all the stuck energy, all the limiting beliefs. It's clearing your energy body. So imagine the aura that goes out around you, her aura that goes out around her. This brilliant, bright white light is collecting everything. It's getting all of that debris. And guess what? The ground loves debris. So the ground acts like a huge vacuum cleaner and slurps all of this yucky stuff into the ground. In fact, what happens to the ground when it literally receives shit and it turns into flowers. Okay, so we want to give all this yucky stuff to the earth. Okay, so imagine that brilliant bright white light just sends everything to the ground. Ooh, take a nice deep breath and everybody stop tapping. Okay, and we're going to keep this crystal shower head on. And you and the little you continue to sit here in whatever position feels comfortable. And I want you to feel as this brilliant, bright white light fills up. You can close your eyes for this part. Fills up. Now the energy is going to fill you up. We are going to backfill all of that because you've had a lot of stuff in here and a lot of stuff has been like not yours. So we want to refill this up with you energy. Okay. And the brilliant, bright white light that comes into your body knows how to replicate and to fill in the spaces for you to be you. Okay. For you to expand and take up your body, take up your energy body, take up your aura. Okay, so feel as this brilliant, bright white light fills up your head, fills up your neck, fills up your shoulders, your chest, your arms, your stomach, your hips, your thighs, your knees, your calves, and your feet. Now I want you to feel as you get so full of this brilliant, bright white light that it shoots out of your fingertips, it shoots out of your toes, it shoots out of your head, and it spills out of your heart. And I want you to feel yourself here for a minute, fountaining this brilliant, bright white light. And look down at the little you and see as she's fountaining the white light too. And I want you to notice the look on her face. And just feel this fountaining. Feel as you are a human fountain of this brilliant, bright white light. Okay, and at this point, you can ask her if she wants to come with you. And most of the time they do. So if she wants to come with you, I want you to shrink her down. Imagine picking her up and shrinking her down into a little teeny tiny bite size. Pick her up, put her in your heart, and feel as she grows up inside of you, as she gets bigger and bigger and older, until she becomes you, as the person you are today, with this new way of seeing the world and this new way of seeing that situation. Okay, now everybody take a nice deep breath. Ooh. And we're going to check our results, okay? So go back to that same scenario that was triggering to you, okay? I want you to relive that same memory. Be there in your house, having a stressful day, overwhelmed from work, sad. Bree, let's go ahead and check in with you first, and then Jane, I'll come to you next. And please type in the chat. I would love to hear what your little you, what the look on your little you's face was, and I would love to hear what happened for you in the chat. Okay, Bree, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi. Sorry, what's the question exactly?
How was that experience for you?
Okay, it was beautiful. Loved the opportunity to do it. Tried to just put aside all my story about, this never works. I can never get what people say they get out of these things. So just did my best with it.
Okay, good. You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. Does anybody else have that where you're like, God, this works for so many other people? And I have a friend like this who has this really strong story that nothing works for her. So thank you for bringing that up, Bri.
Yeah.
Don't worry about pleasing me right now because, everybody has a different experience, but I do want to address that. So this is a self-sabotage mechanism. And self-sabotage is actually what we're going to go really deep on tomorrow. We're going to talk all about that. And basically what happens is there's a part of there's the subconscious part of you that thinks it's keeping you safe with the extra weight and with these eating behaviors. Because remember, our brain is always just trying to keep us safe. Okay. It's doing its best. You're alive right now. And that's all it cares about. It thinks that what it's been doing is working because you're alive. It doesn't understand. It's prehistoric. It doesn't understand that overeating food in this way is actually making you sick. Okay. So what's happening is like it's saying, hey, we're alive right now and we should not change anything. And so it'll throw up these stories. Or did you notice yourself kind of like maybe checking out, or it was hard to like stay with the exercise? Was that happening for you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay. So that's the part of you that's actually really scared that this is going to work. Okay.
Right.
It's
Right.
Yeah, so I definitely want to make sure you come back tomorrow because I'm going to be speaking directly to that part of your brain that is super, super scared that this is going to work. Because, you know, when people have this experience where they check out, they're like, oh, I'm not really sure, they have this story. I don't know if this is going to work for me. I know it works for other people, but not for me. That means that there's a part of you that knows for sure this is going to work for you, and it's really, really scared to make the changes. Okay.
So I had this really strong visual that, but I've had it before, but not thought about it for years. But really strong visual of being whatever age, about 4, and but maybe younger, because I was so young that I thought hiding behind a tea towel that was pinched into the wall in one of those pinchy plastic, and I thought with my face behind the tea towel that I couldn't be seen, that I was young enough to have that magical thinking that I couldn't be seen behind a tea towel. And it was such a strong image. I just should be able to heal with such a strong image, because obviously I was able to tell that child all the good messages that that you would want to tell any child who is hiding in shame. Not overeating, of course, but bigger things than eating, you know, that, but probably cause the eating later. I don't know. But
Brie, I have a question for you. When you go back, when you think about being at home on your couch and you think about having this stressful day, and now you're at home, you were what was your original number? And I want you to think about how you feel right now and tell me what your number is. What did you start with and where are you at now?
I started with 9, only because you know, like, I'm not burning. I mean, I'm preoccupied with you, so it's not.
Yeah, you're 9.
Yeah,
Okay, so
9.
What are you now?
Now, right now, the 0 right now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. You got yourself from a 9 to a 0. You got
Yeah.
yourself from a 9 to a 0. That's amazing.
Okay.
Have you ever done that before? Have you ever sat down to think about, like, okay, I'm going to eat food, and then all of a sudden you just don't want it anymore?
No, but
Okay.
that's a lot of work we just did. It's a lot of
It
effort.
is a lot of work we just did, but you know what's even more work? Continuing to live the way that you're living and
True.
having,
True.
you know, a heart attack or some
Yeah.
health issues because of the overeating. That is
Yeah.
a lot of work we did, but it worked for you. Okay.
Okay.
Do you see
Okay.
how do you see how your brain, you're sabotaging this so much that your brain didn't even want to really see that it worked for you.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Bree. Thank you so much for
Okay.
sharing.
Thanks,
Please,
everyone.
because we got to work on that subconscious. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Bree.
Thank you.
Okay, Jane, I would love to hear from you. Jane, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi. How was that for you?
It was frustrating. I couldn't, my mind just couldn't settle on one thing.
Okay, so your mind kept going from thing to thing?
Yeah, thinking, well, it's this one. Well,
I'm
it's this one.
glad we're having 2 challenging demonstrations. Okay, cool. Did this happen for anybody else where your brain just like couldn't think of, were you going from like different memories, or were you thinking about like thoughts right now?
I was trying to think of a memory or a situation of when I was that 10-year-old.
Okay. So you were trying to think of it, but it didn't come up.
No. I mean, I could feel my feelings, and that I felt, you know, if I'm going back to the lonely and kind of like not wanted, I could feel that.
Okay.
But I couldn't find anything specific. I just felt alone a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So maybe you probably needed a little bit more clarity around going back. So sometimes what happens is when people, they get really stressed about doing it right. Okay.
That was me.
Yeah. So which makes you really good. You're probably like really accomplished. You're probably really good at achieving things. You're probably like the person that dots all the T's and crosses all the T's and dots the I's.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
It's it's with this exercise, what I'll train you to do over time is give yourself permission to just let it come up rather than you find it. Okay, so you let the unconscious mind find it and you trust whatever comes up. Was there something, if you think back to like the initial thing that came up, was there something that came up and you thought, oh no, that can't be right, and then you went to something else?
I didn't know if I was supposed to be thinking of something now or then.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so yeah, maybe my instructions weren't super clear. No worries, Jane. You know what? Tomorrow we're going to do an exercise that is all about self-sabotage, okay? And my guess is I think this is a group. It already feels like there's a lot of curiosity about self-sabotage, and tomorrow I'm going to walk you through my step-by-step method to cut the ties to your weight set point. And sometimes when we do that, it'll make these other processes easy. Sometimes there's a couple signals that will, like, you have to address those first before the other ones can work. And this is the part where it's individualized for people. And one of the benefits of, one of the benefits that the Thrive students get in that work with me in my more advanced program is that I can help them kind of hone in on this and go, okay, Jane, actually, I don't want you doing this technique until you do this other signal. I want you to just focus on this other signal, and then you can come back to this one, and then it'll work. So sometimes you just need to customize it a little bit, and it sounds like that's all you need, Jane. So I hope that you come back tomorrow, and
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and then
I can see where I self-sabotage all the time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I know it's so common. It's so common. And it was my biggest challenge. It was the thing that I could not solve. It took me probably 12 years to actually.
Yeah.
So anyway, I can't wait to give it to you guys in just 1.5 hours tomorrow. So I would love to see all of you guys. Yes, there will be a recording, Barbara. I don't know how soon we'll be able to get it out, but if you're patient with us, like within a week usually, we'll have that. I want to read some of the comments. Let's see. I know a lot of you guys had let's see, I went from a 9 to a 0. My little me was just desperate to be loved. I bawled my eyes out. My mother didn't love me, would let me sit in her lap, never called me endearment, never told me she loved me when I had nightmares. My 5 siblings were asleep. She let me come downstairs, and together we ate a whole plate of fudge. Yeah. I was tiny and underweight and afraid. Okay. Yeah, it sounds like there's some really, really strong memories came up for people. This is the only thing that works for me. I just have to keep doing it on different foods and different situations, step by step. Yes, absolutely, Stephanie. I have a hard time because I can't visualize. Yeah, you know what, Ginny, I was like that too. And you know what really helped me was giving myself permission to just know it. I think people that are really kinesthetic have a hard time visualizing, and but will have like a knowing sense. I don't know if that's helpful. But if you're able to do this technique and you just feel like, okay, I just know this thing happened, but you don't necessarily see it clearly. I was teaching this for probably 7 or 8 years without really being able to see properly. But what's interesting is over time, as I healed more and more of my traumas, my visualization, I started being able to visualize more clearly. So it is in some ways a trauma response, but nonetheless, you can work with the feelings, or sometimes I'll see a number or I'll hear something. Let's see. Suzanne said, I'm crying and I'm not sure why. Something, and that phrase was it for me. That's not fair, but not sure what it was referring to. Yeah. Yeah, I wish I could talk to all of you guys and hear what everybody's experience was. Okay, so I would love to see you guys back here tomorrow, same time, same place. Please bring some food with you tomorrow. Okay, we're gonna actually we're gonna do some work with food, and it's gonna be really, really valuable. I'm gonna be walking you through my step-by-step method to cut the ties to your weight set point. No joke. We figured this out, you guys. All of my techniques just came to me like intuitively. But what we realized over time, so like it's taken me a decade to even be able to like explain to you what these things do, because I just was really good at fixing the problems, because that's how the solutions came to me, is like kind of intuitively, and I just kind of understood how the brain works with all my psychology training. And then it just like intuitively came to me, and then I would try things to see if it would work or not. So I didn't really know how it was working or why it was working, but what we found is that the technique that I'm going to teach you tomorrow will literally change the weight set point in your mind. So no joke, some of my students will lose weight just from coming to the session tomorrow. A lot of them will say that they feel like they had a gastric bypass surgery after doing this because of how much less they wanted to eat. So I think you're going to find it really valuable. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for our volunteers, Bree and Jane. I appreciate you guys being vulnerable and sharing, and can't wait to see you guys all tomorrow. Have a fabulous rest of your day, and yeah, see you then. Bring food, bring food with you tomorrow. All right, thanks everybody. Bye bye.